Hello friends and family, it's Mr. Robin. Party in the Pantry is back. Thank you for joining me in our next episode. So, this special is going to be called Netflix and Skill. So I'm sure the past few days during this quarantine season you've been feeling kind of lazy, lethargic, and probably not eating the best foods if you're watching TV shows like HBO or whatever Netflix has. So I thought I'd make a healthier alternative to some of these snacks that we like to eat in front of the television. It is going to be garbanzo beans, sweet potato, and kale. So friends, if you remember regular potatoes, this is a sweet potato. It's orange because it has vitamin C. So, like I said in my last video, first off, I'm going to wash my hands. But I'm not going to be using food handling gloves because these are all things that are going to be cooked in the oven, so I don't have to worry about germs. But still, I wash my hands and arms thoroughly for this. So with this sweet potato, I washed it first, and I'm going to have to peel off the skin. So, potatoes are super healthy, and you can tell by their color, as I talked about before. Sweet potatoes are loaded with vitamin A, and with that vitamin A, there's this little tiny thing called phytokeratine. And luckily with sweet potatoes, this phytokeratine is super strong, and it can actually survive the oven, because these vitamins are survivors. So all of the health and nutrients is going to stay in the sweet potato. Now what this was going to be was a healthier alternative for some potato chips. And honestly, I've been feeling a little guilty lately with some of the snacks that I've been preparing for myself. But actually, this whole entire show is going to have some very, very simple snacks. And actually, I am shocked by how easy this is going to be. So what I'm going to do is chop these up really thinly, just like potato chips. And luckily, I've had lots of success cutting thin slices from these sweet potatoes. But if they still seem, a little rough, you can pop them in the microwave for a couple minutes. It'll make them softer. So this is more an activity for grown-ups, but I think kids are just gonna love the end result in this. So luckily, I had some sweet potatoes already prepared. What I'm gonna do first, before I put these on a pan, I'm gonna use some cooking spray. Now cooking spray is going to be your best friend in this whole entire process. So what I'm going to do, I'm gonna put these on, and you always have the option of drizzling on some oil, or if you want, even rubbing it with butter. But cooking spray is just as easy. You can spray thoroughly, all throughout. And honestly, it has no calories, and it cooks just the same. So I want to get some nice flavor with these sweet potatoes. And I made my own concoction of what would taste good. So, I'd like to start off first is some Himalayan sea salt. Now, there hasn't really been extensive studies on why is this healthier than the other table salt, but kids, these come from the Himalayas. Really, really tall, big mountain range. And these don't come from the sea where other salt comes from. And as you know, sometimes with the sea, it can get quite polluted. So luckily, when this is mined from the mountains, you don't have to worry about anything because this is salt untouched and fresh from the source. What I also like to do is add a little bit of some spices and flavoring, such as onion powder. And don't worry, parents or kids, these aren't going to be too spicy. And especially when these are put in the oven, these are going to turn out very delicious. Another nice variety of salt is celery salt. Kids, that comes from celery. And it's whatever suits your taste, but I think it's delicious having different kinds of salt on there. And I'm going to add some nice garlic powder. And I like to add some basil or rosemary. So what I'm going to do is pop that in the oven for about within 350 degrees. So that will take about an hour to cook. You could check halfway, 30 minutes. So our next crunchy little snack is going to be garbanzo beans. And luckily, I already had some opened from the can and drained. And I also rinsed it with water just to make them, just as clean. I'm going to spray this pan. And, when I was a little kid, I always liked these because they're shaped like little hearts. So maybe some of your little children might like these too. And these are all going in the oven. You just spray the pan and you spray the food. And I'm going to put in my own little spice mixture, the same that I showed you before. And this is really going to be delicious. Just picture yourself munching on these in front of the television tonight. And that's great because it's Friday. So I'm sure some of you probably have a nice movie night planned. And now you won't have, unhealthy things like potato chips or other snacks. I always want to put a little healthy spin on things. And one thing that I think the kids are really going to like is if I add a little bit of grated Parmesan cheese onto these. Adds a nice little salty taste. And with these garbanzo beans, I like to add a little punch to it. So this is called paprika. It's from a red chili pepper, but it's powdered. Or as my dad calls it, paprika. But each to their own. Now what's good about garbanzo beans is that they're full of protein. And sometimes people dry it up and they make it into a flour. So that's a good gluten-free option. And it's also a very good meat alternative as well. So those are going to go in the oven too. This is all going to be at 350 degrees. These will be for a good, I'd say 40 minutes. And you can check them halfway. Those are going to be nice and crunchy. So next one is going to be kale leaves. Now, I put the sweet potatoes in first and then the garbanzo beans in order of what takes the longest. This kale is going to take the shortest. So, kids, this almost looks like lettuce and cabbage. It's from the same family. And guess what, parents? Kale is probably the most healthy food on this entire planet. So why not make it a good snack for tonight? I mean, seriously. What's good with kale is that it is packed with all the nutrients you could ask for. It has vitamin A, which is good for your eyes. It has vitamin B6, which is good for your blood. Vitamin C, which is good for all the cells in your body. And you're not going to believe this fun fact that I discovered today. 1 cup of kale has more vitamin C than an orange. Can you believe that? So think about it when you're eating this tonight. And luckily, you can get kales in a bag, pre-cut, pre-washed. This was about $5, but it's totally worth it. So you just put on the pan. You're going to spray it, and I will do the same mixture. And you got to believe me, this is going to be delicious. So, parents, I say give this a try. And kids always model behavior. So, if you're going to like it, the kids are going to like it too. They're going to say, wait, it's my turn. Me too. Let me try some. That is some onion powder. Going to put on some garlic powder. And let's see. I also like good old Himalayan sea salt. I think it's still called sea salt because I think maybe that part was underwater in the ocean. Back in, not sure what days, I don't know, it was when the dinosaurs were alive, but it happened at some point in time. That's why there's so much salt up in the Himalayas. And I'm going to spray this again for extra measure. Now these are going to cook the shortest, so anytime you're doing this, look in the oven to see how these are going. So this will be roughly, I think 20 to 30 minutes total, and then you flip them over halfway. And what you can do with these, you can take them out, and these still are going to cook on the hot pan. So these are just going to be nice, extra crispy. This will be another version of potato chips. So, whew, that will join the oven too. And luckily, I have all these dishes already prepared. So, I'm going to make my little plate tonight because I'm going to watch some TV too during this quarantine season. So these here are the chickpeas. Nice and crunchy and spicy. It's delicious and it's really filling. You can almost taste that protein. Has a lot of body to it. So that's snack number 1. That is finished. And here's how the sweet potato chips turned out. Sweet potato chips. Just like potato chips. Let's see how these are. Nice and crunchy. And delicious. These are going to go by fast. So if you want your vitamin A intake, I say eat them while you can. Last but not least, the kale. Kids, don't be scared. If it's green, it is super healthy. And with all these, I didn't really add any fat, or not too much sodium either, because I added some spices. Let's see how this crunchy thing turned out. That is very rich. It's not intimidating or overwhelming. You know what? This is my favorite. So nice and crunchy. You got to try this to believe it. So, that's my plate tonight. And treat this like you would any other snack on a Friday night. These are kind of like, potato chips, but I'm going to add some ketchup too. Just because they kind of remind me of French fries. And ahead of time, Mr. Rob made his own little dip. It's ranch powder and homemade yogurt. Add a little bit of soy sauce and balsamic vinegar. That's my own mixture, and I think it tastes really nice. If you need any advice on homemade yogurt or such, feel free to hit me up, or I'll just do an episode on that. So that turned out really well. Kids, I hope you learned your sharing skills, because these are going to be hard to put down. So I'm going to watch The Crown on Netflix. So I got my snack ready. And I'm ready to start eating. So thank you again for joining me on this episode of Party in the Pantry. Kids, when you get older and have sleepovers and such, this will be a great way to impress your friends. So if you ever remember me, please remember these nice snacks. So, till I see you again, I hope you have a party in your pantry tonight. Take care. Have a nice weekend.